Hey son, it is 2 in the morning, and you are pulling off the highway into a gravel lot. The diesel engine shuts down with a shudder. Through the windshield, you see a diner, windows glowing yellow, neon sign buzzing in the dark. Inside, truckers sit at the counter eating steaks and eggs, while cigarette smoke curls toward the ceiling. This is America in the 1950s, when the road never slept, and neither did the diners that fed it. Tonight, we are diving into something most people have completely forgotten: the brutal trucker breakfast served at roadside diners that have vanished from the American landscape. These were not quaint little breakfast spots. They were 24-hour operations built for men hauling freight across state lines, running on coffee and cigarettes, eating meals that would horrify a modern nutritionist. If you have been enjoying these trips back in time, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We are also on Spotify now, so you can take these stories with you wherever you go. Link is in the description. So here is what we are going to figure out tonight. What did it actually feel like to walk into one of these diners at 2 in the morning? What was on the menu that kept a driver awake for another 600 miles? How much did it cost to fill your stomach when minimum wage was 75 cents an hour? What did the waitress say when you sat down? What did the cook do differently at 2 in the morning than he did at 2 in the afternoon? And why did every single one of these places smell exactly the same? It is 1956 now. The jukebox plays low in the corner. A semi-rig idles in the lot outside. The coffee pot stays hot all night. And everything is about to make sense. Let us start with the arrival. You pull off the highway after driving since sundown. The headlights sweep across a gravel parking lot where maybe 10 or 12 big rigs sit idling, engines running to keep the cab warm or cool, depending on the season. The diner sits low to the ground, flat roof, long windows lit up bright against the darkness. A neon sign flickers above the door, sometimes just the word diner, sometimes the name of whoever owns it. The gravel crunches under your boots as you walk toward the door. You can hear the hum of the engines behind you and the buzz of the neon above. Inside, through the window, you see the counter, the stools, the men hunched over plates. This is the moment before you step inside, when the diner is still just a promise of warmth and food and a place to sit down. The lot itself tells you everything you need to know. It is never paved. Always gravel or packed dirt, rutted from years of heavy trucks pulling in and out. Sometimes there are puddles that never quite dry, oil slicked and reflecting the neon. The trucks park at angles, not in neat rows, because there are no painted lines to follow. Each driver finds a spot and shuts down for however long the meal takes. Some leave the engine running, some do not. It depends on the weather and how long they plan to stay, and whether they trust the engine to start again in the cold. You can tell which trucks have been there a while by the way they sit. The ones that just arrived still tick and settle, metal contracting as the engine cools. The ones that have been there an hour sit silent and cold. Sometimes you see a driver sleeping in the cab, head against the window, too tired to go inside. Sometimes you see one standing outside smoking, stretching his legs before getting back on the road. The lot is a kind of way station, a pause in the motion that defines everything else. The building itself is nothing special. One story, rectangular, built cheap and built to last. The siding might be wood or aluminum or brick, but it all looks the same in the dark. The windows run the length of the front, wide and low, so you can see inside from the parking lot. The light spills out yellow and warm, cutting through the night. That light is what you navigate toward. That light is the whole reason you stopped. The neon sign above the door is usually simple. Just the name of the place. Maybe an arrow pointing down. Maybe the outline of a coffee cup. The neon flickers because it has been running for years without maintenance. Sometimes a letter is out. Sometimes the whole thing buzzes like an angry wasp. But it stays on all night, every night, because the sign is how you find the place from the highway. It is the beacon that tells you food is here, coffee is here, a place to sit down is here. You take your time walking from the truck to the door. Your legs are stiff from sitting for 6 or 8 hours straight. Your back aches. Your eyes ache. The gravel is uneven, and you watch your step because the lot is not well lit. Just the spill from the windows and whatever the moon gives you. The air smells like diesel and dust, and somewhere far off, rain. You hear the trucks idling behind you, that low rumble that never quite goes away. You hear the buzz of the neon. You hear voices from inside, muffled through the glass. This is the in-between moment. You are not driving anymore, but you have not arrived yet. You are in the space between motion and rest, between the highway and the counter. It lasts maybe 30 seconds. Then you reach for the door handle and everything changes. The door swings open and the smell hits you all at once. Cigarette smoke, hot grease, coffee that has been sitting on the burner too long, bacon frying on the flat top. It is thick and immediate, the kind of smell that sticks to your clothes and stays in your hair for the rest of the trip. Every diner smelled like this. It did not matter if you were in Pennsylvania or Nevada or Tennessee. The smell was identical because the routine was identical. Griddle running hot, ashtrays on every table, coffee pot never empty. You breathe it in and your body knows exactly where you are. This is the smell of being on the road in the middle of the night. This is the smell of a meal that will keep you awake until dawn. The smell is layered. First, the smoke, because everyone is smoking and has been smoking for hours. It hangs in the air like fog, visible under the fluorescent lights, settling into the upholstery and the curtains and the vinyl on the stools. Then the grease, because the griddle has been running since yesterday morning and will keep running until tomorrow morning. The grease is old and hot, and it coats everything. You can taste it in the air before you taste it in the food. Then the coffee, burnt and bitter, brewed in big percolators that sit on burners that never turn off. The coffee has been there since the last pot ran out, which might have been 20 minutes ago or 2 hours ago. It does not matter. It all tastes the same. Strong and dark and slightly scorched. The smell of it mixes with the smoke and the grease and becomes something you cannot separate into parts anymore. It just becomes the smell of the diner. Under all of that, if you pay attention, you can smell the food itself. Bacon, always bacon, because someone is always ordering bacon. Eggs on the griddle, that sulfurous edge when the whites hit the hot surface. Toast browning, sometimes burning. Onions if someone ordered hash browns with onions. The smell of meat searing, fat rendering, bread crisping. It is a working smell. Nothing delicate about it. It is the smell of food being cooked fast and in quantity. The smell does not bother you. If anything, it makes you hungrier. Your stomach has been empty for hours, and the smell tells you that is about to change. It is a promise your body understands before your brain catches up. Food is close. Rest is close. You are almost done driving for a while. There is also the smell of bodies, though no one talks about it. Working men who have been on the road for days, who shower when they can, but not as often as they should. The smell of sweat and diesel and tobacco. It is not unpleasant, just human. It is the smell of labor, of long hours, of men doing hard work in close quarters. The diner does not try to cover it up with air freshener or incense. It just lets it be. The smell is so specific that decades later, If you walk into a place that even remotely approximates it, your body remembers. A certain combination of burnt coffee and old grease and cigarette smoke, and your mind goes straight back to 2 in the morning on some highway in some state you were just passing through. The smell is a time machine. It carries everything with it. The exhaustion, the hunger, the loneliness of the road, the relief of stopping. All of it compressed into one breath when you open the door. You step inside and let the door close behind you. The smell wraps around you like a blanket. You are here now. You are off the road. For the next hour, this is home. The counter runs the length of the room, maybe 20 feet, maybe 30. Stools bolted to the floor, padded seats in red or green vinyl, some of them patched with duct tape where the material is split. You do not wait to be seated. You just pick a stool and sit down. The counter is formica, usually tan or speckled gray, wiped down but never quite clean. There are coffee rings, cigarette burns, the faint outline of where someone set a hot plate down too many times. You rest your arms on it and it feels solid, permanent. The man next to you is eating a steak. The man 2 stools down is drinking coffee and staring at nothing. Nobody makes eye contact. Nobody has to. You are all here for the same reason. The stools are mounted on a single chrome post that lets them swivel. You spin slightly when you sit down, adjusting to find the right position. The seat is cracked in places, the foam showing through, but it is padded enough that you do not mind. The stool is the right height for the counter. Your elbows rest naturally. Your feet reach the chrome footrest that runs along the base. Everything is designed for efficiency, for turnover, for feeding as many people as possible, in as little time as possible. The counter itself is the center of everything. It is where the food appears, where the coffee gets poured, where the waitress takes your order and the cook slides your plate. It is the stage, and you are the audience. You sit facing the action. Behind the counter you can see the griddle, the cook working, the stacks of plates and cups, the coffee pot on its burner. You can see your food being made. You can watch the whole process from raw to plated. There is no mystery, no kitchen hidden in the back. Everything happens right in front of you. The formica is worn smooth from years of elbows and plates and wiping. It has a slight texture, a pattern meant to hide stains. But the stains are still there if you look. Dark circles where coffee sat too long. Burn marks where someone set down a cigarette. Scratches from knives and forks dragged across the surface. The counter has fed thousands of people, and it shows. But it is clean in the way that matters. Wiped down after every customer. No food stuck to it, no grease puddles. Just the evidence of use, of time, of people passing through. You sit, and the man next to you does not look up. He is halfway through his meal, cutting into a piece of steak, chewing slowly. He does not acknowledge you. You do not acknowledge him. This is the etiquette of the counter. Everyone is alone even though you are sitting elbow to elbow. You stare straight ahead or down at your plate. You do not make conversation unless someone starts it first, and no one ever starts it first. 2 stools down, another man sits with a cup of coffee in both hands, staring at the wall behind the counter. He is not eating. Maybe he already ate. Maybe he is just here for the coffee and the warmth. His face is weathered and tired. He might be 40 or he might be 60. The road ages you in ways that are hard to measure. He does not move except to lift the cup to his lips, sip, set it back down. The waitress comes by and refills it without asking. He nods. That is the entire interaction. The counter creates a kind of democracy. Everyone sits at the same level, eats the same food, pays the same prices. There is no hierarchy here. The man in the clean shirt sits next to the man in the oil-stained jeans. The young driver sits next to the old driver. The local factory worker sits next to the trucker passing through. The counter does not care who you are. It just cares that you sit down and order something. You settle into your stool and wait. The counter is solid under your arms. The stool holds your weight without creaking. Everything feels permanent, even though you know it is not. In 20 years, this diner will be gone. But right now, at 2 a.m, it feels like it will be here forever. She is there within 30 seconds. Coffee pot in one hand, menu in the other, sometimes just a pad and a pencil. She does not ask if you want coffee. She just pours it. The cup is thick white ceramic, the kind that chips but never breaks. The coffee is black and hot and tastes like it has been brewing since yesterday, which it probably has. She sets the cup down, flips the menu in front of you, and waits. Her uniform is usually pale blue or pink, an apron tied at the waist, her name stitched above the pocket. She knows you are a driver. She can tell by the way you sit, by the look on your face, by the time of night. She does not ask where you are going or where you have been. She just waits for you to order. Her name is stitched in cursive above the pocket. Betty or Dorothy or Marge. Names that sound like they belong to someone's mother, which they probably do. She is in her 40s or 50s, hair pulled back, a few strands loose around her face. No makeup at this hour, or if there was makeup, it is worn off. She has been on her feet since 6 p.m. and will stay on her feet until 6 a.m. 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. This is what she does. This is what she has done for years. She moves with the kind of efficiency that only comes from repetition. Every motion is practiced. The way she flips the cup right side up from the stack behind the counter. The way she pours the coffee in one smooth arc, stopping exactly when the cup is full. The way she sets the pot down and pulls the pad from her apron pocket in the same motion. She does not waste movement. She does not waste time. The coffee pot is glass with a brown plastic handle, stained from years of use. The coffee inside is almost black. She fills your cup, and you wrap your hands around it immediately, feeling the heat through the ceramic. You do not look at the menu yet. You just hold the coffee and let the warmth sink into your palms. She stands there waiting, not impatient, just ready. She has other customers, but she is not in a hurry. This is the pace of the diner. Fast, but not rushed. You glance at the menu even though you already know what you want. Steak and eggs. Everyone orders steak and eggs, or ham and eggs, or pork chops and eggs. The menu is the same in every diner from coast to coast. The prices might vary by a quarter, but the food is identical. She knows this. You know this. The menu is just a formality. She clicks her pen and waits. You tell her your order and she writes it down in shorthand. Abbreviations that only she and the cook understand. Etos kig og bon. Steak, eggs over easy, hash browns, white toast. She does not read it back to you. She does not ask if you want anything else. She just tears the slip from the pad and clips it to the metal carousel behind the counter where the cook can see it. The order is in. Your part is done. She moves down the line to the next customer, coffee pot still in hand, refilling cups as she goes. She does this automatically, without thinking. She can tell how much coffee is left in a cup from 3 feet away. She knows who drinks fast and who nurses it. She knows who will want a refill in 5 minutes and who will make 1 cup last the whole meal. She has been watching people eat for so long that she can read them like a book. There is no small talk. She does not ask how your drive was or where you are headed. She does not comment on the weather. She just does her job, which is to keep the coffee hot and the food moving and the customers fed. That is the relationship. You do not need to know her life. and she does not need to know yours. She pours your coffee and takes your order, and that is enough. That is exactly enough. In a different context, at a different hour, she might be someone you would talk to. But at 2 a.m. in a roadside diner, she is just the person who brings your food, and you are just the person who eats it. The transaction is clean and simple and perfectly understood by both sides. The menu is either a laminated card or written on a chalkboard behind the counter. Steak and eggs, pork chops and eggs, ham and eggs, bacon and eggs, sausage and eggs any style, hash browns, toast, pancakes. Everything comes with eggs. The eggs are cheap and filling, and they cook fast. The steak is usually a thin cut, nothing fancy, grilled on the flat top until it is brown on both sides. The pork chop is the same. The portions are big because the men eating them are burning fuel all night. A trucker breakfast is not about taste. It is about calories. It is about staying awake. It is about eating enough at 2 a.m. that you do not have to stop again until noon. The prices are written next to each item in chalk or printed on the card. Steak and eggs, $1.75. Ham and eggs, $1.50. Pancakes, 90 cents. Coffee, 10 cents with free refills. Everything is priced to move. Nothing costs more than $2 unless you order extra sides. The prices have to stay low because the customers are working men on tight budgets. They are not here for luxury. They are here because they need to eat, and this is the cheapest hot meal they can find at 2 a.m. The menu does not change. It is the same today as it was last year and the year before that. The same items in the same order, the same prices. Adjusted maybe once a year when costs go up. There is no daily special. There is no seasonal variation. The diner serves the same food every single day, because that is what the customers want. They want to know what they are getting. They want reliability. They want the same steak and eggs they had last week and the week before that. The eggs are the foundation of everything. Scrambled, fried, over easy, over hard, poached. You can get them any way you want. They come from big industrial cartons in the back, dozens and dozens of eggs used every shift. The cook cracks them directly onto the griddle, 2 at a time, letting them sizzle in the grease left over from the last order. The whites spread out and crisp at the edges. The yolks stay intact until you cut into them. Eggs are cheap protein. They fill you up. They cost the diner almost nothing, and they can charge $1 for them. The steak is not prime rib. It is not filet mignon. It is a thin cut of beef, maybe a 1/4 inch thick, probably not the best part of the cow. It might be round steak or chuck steak or something the meat supplier had too much of. It does not matter. The cook throws it on the griddle, presses it down with a spatula, lets it sear on both sides until it is brown and crispy at the edges. It is tough. You have to chew it. But it tastes good because it is salty and fatty and cooked in butter or bacon grease. The flavor is simple, but it works. The hash browns are shredded potatoes pressed flat on the griddle, fried until the bottom is crispy and the top is soft. They soak up grease like a sponge. They are heavily salted. They are exactly what you want at 2 a.m. when you have been driving for 8 hours and your blood sugar is low. The potatoes are filling in a way that lasts. They sit heavy in your stomach and keep you from getting hungry again too soon. The toast is white bread, the cheap kind that comes in plastic bags, sliced thin and toasted on the griddle or in a toaster behind the counter. It comes to the table warm with butter already melting into it. 2 slices, sometimes 3 if you ask. The bread is soft and bland, and it soaks up egg yolk perfectly. That is its whole purpose. It is not artisan bread. It is not sourdough. It is just bread. doing exactly what bread is supposed to do. The portions are huge by modern standards. 2 eggs, a whole steak, a pile of hash browns the size of your fist, 2 or 3 slices of toast. The plate is full when it arrives, and it stays full even after you start eating. The diner does not believe in small portions. The customers are working men who need calories. They need food that will last them through the rest of the night. The diner gives them that. No one leaves hungry. You look at the menu, even though you already know what you want. Everyone knows what they want. The menu is just a formality, a ritual. You glance at it, confirm that steak and eggs still costs $1.75, and you order. The same thing you ordered last time. The same thing you will order next time. You tell her what you want, and she writes it down without looking at the pad. Steak and eggs, over easy, hash browns, white toast. She tears the slip from the pad and clips it to a carousel behind the counter where the cook can see it. The cook does not say anything. He just starts working. The waitress moves down the line, pouring more coffee, taking another order, clearing a plate. She has been doing this for years. She can carry 4 plates at once and pour coffee with her eyes closed. The rhythm of the diner runs through her like a clock. She knows when to check on you and when to leave you alone. She knows when you need more coffee before you know it yourself. The carousel is a simple device, a metal clip attached to a rotating wheel. The waitress clips the order slip to it and spins it so the cook can see. He glances at it, reads the shorthand, and gets to work. No conversation necessary, no back and forth. The system has been refined over years until it is frictionless. Orders go in, food comes out. The carousel keeps everything organized. First in, first out. The cook works down the line, making each meal in the order it was received. The cook does not acknowledge the order. He does not call out confirmation. He just reads the slip and starts moving. His hands go to the cooler under the counter where the steaks are stacked on wax paper. He pulls one out, slaps it on the griddle. The meat hits the hot surface with a hiss. Fat starts rendering immediately. He leaves it there and moves on to the next step. Eggs from the carton, cracked one-handed, 2 at a time, dropped onto the griddle next to the steak. The whites spread and bubble. He does not watch them. He already knows how long they take. While the steak and eggs cook, he scrapes a handful of shredded hash browns from a container and drops them on the griddle in a pile. He presses them flat with the spatula, spreading them into a rough circle. They sizzle in the grease left from the previous order. He sprinkles salt over everything, not measuring, just shaking the shaker, eyeballing the amount. He has made this meal so many times he could do it in his sleep. The waitress moves down the counter, refilling coffee cups. She does not ask permission. She just tilts the pot and pours. Some cups are still half full. She tops them off anyway. Coffee is free. Coffee keeps people in their seats. Coffee is what separates the diner from the drive-through burger joint. She moves smoothly, the pot never spilling, her other hand resting on the counter for balance. She has been doing this for so long that her body knows the rhythm without her brain needing to think about it. She takes another order 2 stools down. Ham and eggs scrambled, rye toast. She writes it down, clips it to the carousel, spins it. The cook glances at it, nods to himself. He will get to it after he finishes your order. Everything happens in sequence. No order gets skipped. No customer gets forgotten. The system works because everyone knows their role and everyone executes it the same way every single time. The waitress clears a plate from the man at the end of the counter. He is done eating. She picks up the plate, the silverware, the empty coffee cup, all in one motion. She carries them to the dish bin behind the counter, drops them in, wipes the counter where he was sitting. The whole process takes maybe 10 seconds. Another customer sits down in the same spot before the stool stops spinning. She flips a cup, pours coffee, pulls out her pad. The cycle continues. She knows when to check on you and when to leave you alone. You are waiting for your food. You do not need anything right now except the coffee in front of you. She will come back when your plate is ready. Until then, she leaves you to your thoughts. She does not hover. She does not make small talk. She just keeps the coffee coming and the orders moving. The rhythm of the diner is hypnotic once you notice it. Orders going in, plates coming out, coffee being poured, dishes being cleared. It never stops. It never slows down. Even at 2 in the morning, when there are only 8 or 10 customers in the whole place, the rhythm stays the same. The waitress moves, the cook works, the carousel spins. It is a machine made of people, and it runs perfectly because everyone knows exactly what they are supposed to do. You sit and wait. The coffee warms your hands. The counter is solid under your elbows. Around you, the diner hums with quiet activity. You are part of it now. Just another customer, just another order on the carousel, just another plate that will come out of the kitchen in 5 minutes. It is comforting in its predictability. You know what is coming. You know how long it will take. You know exactly what it will taste like. There are no surprises here. That is the whole point. The cook works a flat griddle that runs 6 feet long. He is usually older, maybe 50 or 60. White apron stained with grease, a cigarette tucked behind his ear or burning in an ashtray nearby. He does not look up when the order comes in. He just reads the slip and starts moving. Steak on the grill, eggs cracked onto the griddle, hash browns spread out in a pile, toast in the toaster. He works fast but not rushed. Every movement is efficient. He has made this same meal 1,000 times, and he will make it 1,000 more. The griddle hisses and pops. The smell of frying meat fills the room. He flips the eggs with a spatula, presses the steak down flat, scrapes the hash browns into a neat pile. When it is ready, he plates it and slides it onto the counter. No garnish, no presentation. Just food. His apron was white once. Now it is gray and brown, with stains that will never come out. Grease, coffee, egg yolk, meat juice. The apron tells the story of every shift he has worked. He does not change it often, maybe once a week, maybe less. It does not matter. The apron is not for show. It is for function. It keeps the grease off his clothes. That is all it needs to do. The cigarette behind his ear is a Camel or a Lucky Strike, unfiltered. He lights it between orders, takes a few drags, sets it in the ashtray at the end of the griddle. It burns while he works. Sometimes he picks it up, takes another drag, sets it back down. Sometimes he forgets about it and it burns down to the filter. He lights another one. The ashtray is always full. The air above the griddle is always hazy with smoke. No one complains. This is just how it is. The griddle itself is a massive flat surface of blackened steel, heated from below by gas burners. It stays hot all night. The cook never turns it off. Even during slow periods, even when no orders are coming in, the griddle stays at temperature. Turning it off and heating it back up takes too long. Better to just leave it running. The surface is seasoned from years of use, black and slick with a patina of old grease. Nothing sticks to it. The cook scrapes it clean between orders with a metal spatula, pushing the debris into a trough at the back where it falls into a grease trap. He works from left to right, the griddle divided into zones in his mind. Meat on the left, where it is hottest. Eggs in the middle. Hash browns on the right. Toast in the toaster behind him. He knows where everything goes without thinking. His hands move automatically. Flip the steak. Check the eggs. Press the hash browns. Pull the toast. Everything happens in the right order at the right time. He does not use a timer. He does not check a clock. He just knows. The cook does not talk. Not to the waitress, not to the customers, not to anyone. He reads the order slips and makes the food and slides the plates onto the counter. That is the extent of his communication. He is not unfriendly. He is just focused. He has a job to do, and he does it. The waitress calls out modifications when necessary. Extra crispy on the hash browns. Eggs over hard instead of over easy. He nods or grunts or just starts adjusting. No need for full sentences. No need for conversation. His hands are scarred from years of burns. Small white marks where he grabbed a hot pan or touched the griddle. He does not wear gloves. He does not use towels to handle hot things. He just picks them up and moves them. His hands are calloused enough that the heat does not bother him anymore. Or if it does, he does not show it. He works the griddle the same way every night. Fast and steady and completely unbothered. The spatula in his hand is an extension of his arm. He flips eggs without breaking the yolk. He scrapes hash browns into perfect piles. He presses the steak flat so it cooks evenly. The spatula is worn smooth from use, the metal edge sharp from being scraped against the griddle 10,000 times. He never sets it down. It stays in his hand, the entire shift, ready for whatever comes next. When the food is ready, he does not call out. He just plates it. The plate is already warm from sitting on the shelf above the griddle. He slides the steak onto it, the eggs next to it, the hash browns on the side, the toast on a separate plate or just leaning against the eggs. He pushes the plate onto the counter where the waitress can reach it. She picks it up, checks the order slip to make sure it matches, and delivers it. The cook has already moved on to the next order. He does not watch to see if the customer likes it. He does not care. He made it right. That is all that matters. The griddle hisses and pops constantly. Fat rendering from the meat. Water evaporating from the eggs. The sound is steady and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It fills the diner, underlies every conversation, every clink of silverware, every pour of coffee. The griddle is the engine that runs the whole operation, and the cook is the one who keeps it running. The plate comes down in front of you heavy and hot. The steak covers half the plate, thin and charred at the edges. 2 eggs sit next to it, yolks still runny. Hash browns piled on the side, crispy on the outside, soft in the middle. 2 slices of white toast, butter melting into the bread. The plate is white ceramic, thick enough to hold the heat. You pick up the fork and knife and cut into the steak. It is tough, but it tastes good. Salt, fat, char. The eggs break when you cut into them and the yolk runs across the plate. You soak it up with the toast. The hash browns are salty and greasy and perfect. This is not fine dining. This is fuel. This is what keeps you on the road. The waitress sets the plate down without ceremony. No flourish, no presentation. She just slides it in front of you and moves on. The plate is hot enough that you can feel the heat radiating off it. You do not touch the edge. You just pick up your fork and knife and start eating. The steak is thin enough that you can see the griddle marks seared into both sides. It is cooked all the way through, no pink in the middle. The edges crispy and dark. You cut into it, and it resists the knife. You have to saw a little. The meat is tough, but not inedible. It is working-class beef, nothing premium, probably not even choice grade. But it is hot and salty, and it fills your stomach. That is all it needs to be. The eggs are cooked over easy, which means the whites are set and the yolks are still liquid. You cut into the first one, and the yolk breaks, running across the plate in a thick yellow stream. It pools around the steak and the hash browns. You drag a piece of toast through it, soaking up as much as you can. The yolk is rich and fatty, and it makes everything else taste better. The toast turns golden where the yolk soaks in. You eat it in 2 bites. The hash browns are a single mass. Press flat on the griddle until the bottom is dark brown and crispy. You break off a piece with your fork and it comes apart in layers. Crispy outside, soft and steamy inside. They are heavily salted and soaked with grease. Not healthy by any measure. But at 2 in the morning after 8 hours of driving, they taste perfect. You eat them quickly, washing them down with coffee, already reaching for the next bite before you finish chewing. The toast is basic white bread, sliced thin, toasted until it is golden brown. Butter is already melting into it, pooling in the little air pockets in the bread. The toast is soft in the middle and crispy at the edges. It serves one purpose: to soak up egg yolk and meat juice. It does that job perfectly. You use it to wipe the plate, chasing the last of the yolk into a corner and scooping it up. You eat quickly, but not frantically. There is no reason to rush, but there is also no reason to linger. The food is hot, and you are hungry. You cut and chew and swallow, pausing only to sip coffee or take a breath. The plate is full when you start, and it empties steadily. Steak first, cutting it into pieces and working your way through. Then the eggs, breaking both yolks and mixing them with the hash browns. Then the hash browns themselves, forking up big bites. Then the toast, used to clean the plate. The food is simple, but it works. It is not complicated. It is not trying to be something it is not. It is just meat and eggs and potatoes and bread, cooked on a griddle by a man who has made the same meal 10,000 times. There is no sauce, no seasoning beyond salt and pepper, no garnish. Just the food itself, hot and filling and cheap. You can feel your body responding as you eat. The exhaustion that was sitting on your shoulders starts to lift. The hunger that was gnawing at your stomach fades. The food is doing what it is supposed to do. It is giving you energy. It is filling you up. It is keeping you awake. In 20 minutes, you will walk out of this diner and get back in your truck and drive for another 6 hours. This meal is what makes that possible. The plate is nearly empty now. Just a smear of egg yolk, a few crumbs of toast, a bit of grease where the hash browns were. You push it forward slightly, signaling that you are done. The waitress will come by in a minute and clear it. You lean back on the stool, resting, letting the food settle. Your stomach is full. Your hands are warm from holding the coffee cup. You are not ready to leave yet. You will sit here for a few more minutes, finishing your coffee, maybe ordering a slice of pie, letting your body rest before the road calls you back. The coffee pot comes around every few minutes. The waitress does not ask if you want more. She just fills your cup when it gets low. The coffee is bitter and strong, brewed in a big percolator that sits on a burner behind the counter. It has been sitting there for hours, maybe all night. It tastes burnt, but you drink it anyway, because the caffeine is the whole point. Some men drink 5 or 6 cups during a meal. Some drink more. The coffee is free or nearly free, part of the deal when you order food. You can sit there for an hour nursing a cup, and nobody will tell you to leave. The diner runs on coffee as much as it runs on food. The coffee is what keeps the drivers moving. The percolator is a big metal urn that holds maybe 2 gallons. It sits on a burner that never turns off, keeping the coffee hot all night. The coffee inside is black as motor oil, thick and strong. It was brewed hours ago, maybe at the start of the shift, maybe even before that. It has been sitting on the heat, concentrating, getting stronger and more bitter as the water evaporates. By 2 in the morning, it barely resembles the coffee you might drink at home. It is something else entirely. Industrial coffee. Trucker coffee. Coffee meant to keep you awake, not to taste good. You do not add cream. You do not add sugar. You drink it black. Most men do. Adding cream and sugar is something people do at breakfast tables at home, not at roadside diners at 2 in the morning. The coffee is supposed to be harsh. It is supposed to wake you up. You drink it for the effect, not the flavor. The waitress comes by with a pot and you barely notice. She refills your cup while you are eating, while you are cutting into your steak or forking up hash browns. She does not interrupt. She does not ask permission. She just leans in, pours, and moves on. The cup is never empty. As soon as it gets halfway down, she is back. The coffee keeps coming. The cup itself is thick white ceramic, heavy and solid. The kind of cup that can be dropped on a tile floor and survive. The handle is wide enough for a working man's hand. The rim is chipped in places from years of use. The inside is stained brown from coffee that has soaked into the glaze. No amount of washing will get it out. The stain is permanent. Every cup in the diner looks the same. The coffee is scalding hot. You have to sip it carefully at first, blowing across the surface to cool it. But after the first cup, you stop being careful. You just drink it. Your mouth gets used to the heat. By the third cup, you are drinking it like water, barely noticing the temperature. Some men drink coffee the entire time they are in the diner. They order their food and they drink coffee while they wait. They drink coffee while they eat. They drink coffee after they finish eating. They sit at the counter with a cigarette in one hand and a coffee cup in the other, staring at the wall, letting the caffeine work its way into their bloodstream. The coffee is what they came for as much as the food. The free refills are part of the deal. You pay 10 cents for the first cup, and every cup after that is free. The diner makes its money on the food, not the coffee. The coffee is there to keep you in your seat, to keep you comfortable, to keep you coming back. A diner that charges for refills loses customers. Everyone knows this. So the coffee flows freely, cup after cup, pot after pot, all night long. The caffeine hits you slowly and then all at once. The first cup wakes you up a little. The second cup clears your head. The third cup makes your heart beat faster. By the fourth cup, you can feel your hands shaking slightly when you hold the fork. Your thoughts are sharp and fast. The exhaustion that was pulling at you an hour ago is gone, replaced by a jittery alertness. This is what you need. This is what will get you through the next 6 hours on the road. The coffee is not good. It is burnt and bitter, and it sits heavy in your stomach. But it works. That is all that matters. It does what coffee is supposed to do. It wakes you up. It keeps you moving. It turns exhaustion into energy, at least for a little while. You drain the cup and set it down. The waitress is there within seconds, pot in hand, filling it again. You did not ask. You did not signal. She just knew. This is the rhythm of the diner. This is what keeps the whole machine running. The coffee never stops. The pot never empties. And the drivers keep drinking, cup after cup, mile after mile, until the sun comes up and the night is over. Everyone smokes. The ashtrays sit between the salt and pepper shakers, glass or metal, emptied when they get full, but never quite clean. You light a cigarette between bites. The waitress smokes when she has a free moment. The cook smokes while he works, balancing the cigarette on the edge of the griddle or tucking it behind his ear. The smoke hangs in the air, thick enough to see under the fluorescent lights. Nobody complains. Nobody even notices. Smoking is just what you do. You eat, you drink coffee, you smoke. The three go together like the counter and the stools and the smell of grease. It is part of the experience. It is part of the night. The ashtray in front of you is glass, heavy and square, with a cigarette company logo stamped on the bottom. It has been used so many times that the glass is cloudy, scratched from being scraped clean with a rag or a knife. There are 3 or 4 butts in it already from previous customers. The waitress did not empty it when you sat down. She will empty it when it gets full. Until then, it just sits there, collecting ash and butts. You pull a pack of cigarettes from your shirt pocket, Marlboros or Camels or whatever brand you smoke. The pack is soft, crushed slightly from being in your pocket all day. You shake one out, put it between your lips, and light it with a match from the book sitting next to the ashtray. Every diner has matchbooks. Free advertising for the restaurant. You light the match, cup your hand around the flame, and touch it to the cigarette. The tobacco catches and you inhale, feeling the smoke fill your lungs. The first drag after hours on the road tastes better than it should. Your body has been craving nicotine, and now it is getting it. You exhale slowly, the smoke curling up toward the ceiling where it mixes with everyone else's smoke. The fluorescent lights make the smoke visible, turning it into a haze that hangs above the counter like fog. You smoke between bites. Fork in one hand, cigarette in the other. You cut a piece of steak, eat it, take a drag, set the cigarette in the ashtray. You fork up some hash browns, eat them, pick up the cigarette, take another drag. The rhythm is automatic. Eat, smoke, eat, smoke. No one thinks twice about it. This is just how meals work. The waitress walks by with a cigarette of her own, unlit, tucked behind her ear. She is too busy to smoke right now, but she will light it as soon as she has a free moment. Maybe when the rush slows down. Maybe during a lull between orders. She will stand at the end of the counter, coffee pot in one hand, cigarette in the other, taking a few quick drags before getting back to work. Smoking is her break. It is the only break she gets. The cook has a cigarette going constantly. He sets it on the edge of the griddle, away from the food, but close enough to grab. He takes a drag between flipping eggs or scraping the griddle. Sometimes ash falls onto the cooking surface. He scrapes it away with the spatula and keeps working. Nobody sees it. Nobody cares. The cigarette is as much a part of his routine as the spatula or the apron. The smoke is everywhere. It rises from the ashtrays, from the cigarettes in people's hands, from the cook's cigarette on the griddle. It collects near the ceiling, held there by the still air. The diner does not have good ventilation. Just a fan in the corner that pushes the smoke around, but does not remove it. By the end of the night, the air is thick and gray. Your eyes sting slightly. Your throat feels scratchy. You do not notice. This is just what air's like in a diner. The cigarette burns down and you stub it out in the ashtray. The butt joins the others, crushed and bent. You will light another one in a few minutes. Or maybe after you finish eating. Or maybe with your coffee after the meal. There is no set pattern. You smoke when you feel like smoking, which is most of the time. Smoking is social, even when no one is talking. The man next to you lights a cigarette. You light one too. You are both doing the same thing, sitting at the same counter, breathing the same smoky air. It is a kind of solidarity. You are both truckers, both on the road, both stopping for a meal in the middle of the night. The cigarettes are part of what makes you the same. No one asks if you mind the smoke. No one suggests you move to a non-smoking section, because there is no such thing. The entire diner is a smoking section. If you do not like smoke, you do not eat here. But everyone who eats here smokes, so it never comes up. You finish your meal and light one more cigarette. This one you smoke slowly, sipping coffee between drags. The food is gone. The plate is empty. But you are not ready to leave yet. You sit and smoke and let the nicotine and caffeine do their work. In a few minutes, you will pay your check and walk out to the truck. But for now, you just sit. smoking, drinking coffee, watching the cook work behind the counter. This is the last moment of rest before the road calls you back. You look around and see the same type of men at every stool, drivers mostly. Flannel shirts, work boots, jeans stained with oil. Some of them are young in their 20s, just starting out. Some of them are older, 50 or 60, their faces lined from years on the road. They sit alone or in pairs, eating quietly, not talking much. There is a camaraderie here, but it is unspoken. You nod at the man next to you. He nods back. That is enough. You are all doing the same thing, driving the same highways, eating the same food. The diner is the one place where the road stops long enough for you to sit down. You do not need to talk about it. You just need to eat. The young ones are easy to spot. Clean-shaven, eyes still bright, shirts that do not have grease ground into the fabric yet. They are excited about the road in a way that will not last. They think driving a truck is freedom. They think it is adventure. Give them a year and they will know better. The road is not freedom. It is work. Long hours, bad weather, tight schedules, bosses breathing down your neck from 3 states away. But right now, at 22 or 23, they still think they are living the dream. They eat fast, talk too loud when they talk at all, leave big tips because they do not know any better. The older drivers are different. They have been doing this for 20 or 30 years. Their faces are weathered, skin tough from sun and wind. Their eyes are tired but alert. They have seen every highway, driven through every kind of weather, dealt with every kind of breakdown. They do not get excited about anything anymore. They just do the job. They sit at the counter hunched over their plates, eating methodically, not tasting the food, just putting fuel in their bodies so they can keep moving. Some of them sit in pairs, 2 drivers who know each other from the road, who run the same routes and stop at the same diners. They do not talk much. Maybe a comment about the weather, maybe a question about road conditions ahead. Mostly they just eat in parallel, comfortable in the silence. They have been doing this long enough that conversation feels like effort. Sitting quietly next to someone you know is easier. Most sit alone. Shoulders hunched, elbows on the counter, face close to the plate. They eat with purpose, not looking around, not making eye contact. They are here for the food and the coffee, and then they are gone. They do not want company. They do not want conversation. They want to eat and get back on the road. The counter allows for this. You can sit next to someone and never acknowledge them. You can be alone in a room full of people. The clothes are almost uniform. Flannel shirts and red or blue plaid. Denim jeans, the knees worn white from sitting. Work boots, the kind with steel toes, scuffed and stained. Some men wear baseball caps with trucking company logos. Some wear nothing on their heads, hair flattened from wearing a cap all day. The shirts are often rolled up at the sleeves. The jeans are often tucked into the boots. Everyone looks like they just climbed out of a truck, which they did. You can tell who works for a company and who owns their own rig. The company drivers look tired but steady. They have regular routes, regular schedules, regular paychecks. The owner-operators look more worn down. They carry more stress. Every breakdown costs them money. Every delay costs them money. They eat faster, drink more coffee, smoke more cigarettes. They cannot afford to waste time. Time is money, and they are always running out of both. There is a code at the counter. You do not stare. You do not ask questions. You do not bother someone who wants to be left alone. If a man wants to talk, he will start the conversation. Otherwise, you leave him to his meal. This code is understood by everyone. It does not need to be explained. You learn it the first time you sit down at a counter in the middle of the night. The man next to you finishes his meal and stands up. He drops bills on the counter, pulls on his jacket, and walks out. He does not say goodbye. He does not look back. He is already thinking about the next 6 hours of driving. Another man sits down in the same spot within a minute. The waitress flips a cup, pours coffee, takes his order. The cycle continues. The faces change, but the routine stays the same. This is what the counter is. A place where men stop long enough to eat, then disappear back into the night. You are one of them. In 20 minutes, you will be gone too. Someone else will take your seat. And the diner will keep running, the same as it always has. In the corner, a jukebox plays low. Hank Williams, Patsy Cline, maybe some early rock and roll if the owner keeps the records up to date. The music is there, but it does not dominate. It fills the silence without demanding attention. Someone walks over between bites and drops a nickel in, punches a few buttons, walks back to the counter. The song plays and nobody sings along. It is just background, something to keep the diner from feeling too empty in the middle of the night. The jukebox is lit up, glass and chrome, the records spinning inside where you can see them. It is one of the few things in the diner that feels like decoration. Everything else is purely functional. The jukebox sits against the wall near the door, a big Wurlitzer or Seeburg with colored lights that cycle through red and blue and green. The lights are brighter than they need to be, garish almost, but they add warmth to the room. They reflect off the chrome trim and make the whole machine glow. At 2 a.m, the jukebox is often the brightest thing in the diner besides the fluorescent lights overhead. The selection is limited, maybe 40 or 50 records total. Half of them country, half of them early rock and roll. Hank Williams, Your Cheatin' Heart. Patsy Cline, Crazy. Webb Pierce, There Stands the Glass. On the rock side, maybe some Elvis, some Chuck Berry, some Buddy Holly. The records are whatever the distributor brought last time they came through. The owner does not pick them personally. He just takes whatever is popular and fits the format. The records are worn from being played hundreds of times. They skip occasionally. The sound quality is not great. But at 2 a.m. in a roadside diner, no one cares about sound quality. The music is there to fill space, to give the room a little life, to keep the silence from becoming oppressive. It does that job well enough. Someone gets up from the counter and walks over to the jukebox. He stands in front of it, reading the song list through the glass, hands in his pockets. He pulls out a nickel and drops it in the slot. The machine whirs and clicks. He presses 3 buttons, one after another, selecting his songs. The buttons light up when he presses them. He walks back to his seat, and the first song starts playing. The volume is low. You can hear it, but you have to listen for it. It sits under the sound of the griddle hissing, under the conversation between the waitress and the cook, under the clink of silverware on plates. The music does not intrude, it just exists. You can ignore it completely if you want, or you can let it wash over you, something familiar and comforting. A voice singing about heartbreak, or loneliness, or drinking too much. Nobody sings along. Nobody taps their foot to the rhythm. The music is not participatory. It is not a performance. It is just there, the same way the counter is there, or the coffee is there. Background, ambient, part of the texture of the place. Some drivers have favorite songs. They always play the same one when they stop. Your Cheatin' Heart, or I Walk the Line, or That'll Be the Day. They drop their nickel in, press the same buttons they pressed last week and the week before that. The song plays and they go back to eating. It is a ritual, a small moment of control, in a job where almost nothing is in your control. You cannot control the weather or the traffic or the condition of the roads, but you can control what song plays while you eat your eggs. The jukebox runs on nickels, 5 cents per song. Some machines give you 3 songs for a dime. The cost is low enough that anyone can afford it. Even drivers on a tight budget can spare a nickel for music. The jukebox makes money for the diner, not much, but enough to cover the cost of the machine and the records. Between songs, there is a moment of mechanical silence. The record stops spinning. The arm lifts and moves to the next selection. You can hear the machinery working, the clicks and whirs before the next song starts. That gap between songs is sometimes the quietest moment in the diner. No music, no talking, just the ambient sound of the griddle and the coffee pot. Then the next song starts and the background fills in again. The jukebox is one of the few things in the diner that acknowledges that this is not just a place to eat. It is a place where people spend time. Even if that time is only 20 minutes or half an hour, it matters. The jukebox makes those minutes feel less empty. It gives the room a mood. Late-night country music in a roadside diner in the middle of nowhere. Sad songs about lost love and hard living. Songs that match the feeling of being alone on the road at 2 in the morning. You do not pay attention to what is playing. You could not name the song if someone asked. But it is there, filling the space, making the diner feel less like a transaction and more like a place. A place where people stop. A place where people rest. A place where, for just a few minutes, you are not driving. You are just sitting, listening to music, drinking coffee, being still. The meal costs $1.50, maybe $2 if you get the pork chops instead of the steak. Coffee is a dime, free refills. Toast is included. You can eat until you are full for less than the cost of a tank of gas. The menu is priced for working men, for drivers hauling freight cross-country on tight schedules and tighter budgets. The diner makes its money on volume, on the fact that trucks stop here every hour of every day. The prices stay low because they have to. If the food costs too much, the drivers go somewhere else. There is always another diner 20 miles up the road. The competition keeps everyone honest. The prices are not arbitrary. They are calculated down to the penny based on what the diner pays for ingredients and what the customers can afford. The owner knows exactly how much each meal costs to make and how much profit comes from each plate. The margins are thin, maybe 20 or 30 cents per meal after paying for the food, the labor, the utilities. The diner survives on volume. 50 meals a night, 100 meals a night, turning the counter over and over, keeping the stools filled and the griddle hot. Steak and eggs for $1.75 is a deal even in 1956. You can feed yourself, fill your stomach, get enough calories to drive for another 6 hours, all for less than $2. Compare that to eating at home, and the diner is competitive. A steak at the grocery store costs 60 or 70 cents. Eggs cost 30 cents a dozen. Potatoes cost a nickel a pound. The diner is not much more expensive than cooking for yourself, and you do not have to do the work. For truckers, the price matters. They are not wealthy men. They are working class, paid by the mile or by the load, living on the margins. A driver might make $80 or $90 a week. Out of that, he has to pay for food, for a place to sleep when he is not in the truck, for cigarettes and coffee and everything else. He cannot afford to spend $5 on a meal. He needs cheap food that fills him up. The diner gives him that. The coffee at 10 cents with free refills is a loss leader. The diner does not make money on coffee. They break even at best. But the coffee keeps people in their seats. It keeps them ordering food. It keeps them coming back. A driver who stops for coffee might decide to order eggs. A driver who orders eggs will drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee. The coffee and the food work together to create value for both sides. The tip is usually a quarter, sometimes 50 cents if the service was good or the driver is feeling generous. The waitress makes $1 or $1.50 an hour in wages. She depends on tips to bring that up to something livable. A quarter here, a quarter there. 50 cents from the guy who had 3 cups of coffee and sat for an hour. It adds up over a shift. Not to much, but to enough. The diner does not take credit cards. Everything is cash. You pay at the counter when you are done eating, or you leave the money on the counter and walk out. The waitress picks it up, makes change if needed, pockets the tip. The whole transaction takes 30 seconds. No receipt unless you ask for one. No paperwork, just cash changing hands. The prices are written on the menu in chalk or printed on a card. They do not change often, maybe once a year if the cost of food goes up significantly. The diner resists raising prices because they know their customers. Raise the price of steak and eggs from $1.75 to $2, and some drivers will stop coming. They will find another diner with cheaper food. The loyalty is to the price as much as to the place. The portions are generous because the diner understands value. You are not just paying for the food. You are paying for the amount of food. A big steak, 2 eggs, a pile of hash browns, toast. You leave full. You leave satisfied. You feel like you got your money's worth. That feeling is what brings you back. Some diners run specials. 2 eggs, bacon, toast, and coffee for 99 cents. The special is designed to get people in the door. Once they are sitting at the counter, they might order more. They might get pie. They might come back tomorrow. The special is an investment in the customer relationship. You look at the check when it arrives. $1.85. Steak and eggs, hash browns, toast, 2 cups of coffee. You pull $2 bills from your wallet and leave them on the counter. The waitress will keep the 15 cents. It is not much, but it is what you can afford. She picks up the money, nods her thanks, and clears your plate. The transaction is complete. You got what you paid for. A hot meal, strong coffee, a place to sit down. That is all you needed. That is exactly what you got. Next to the register sits a glass case with pies. Apple, cherry, pecan, lemon meringue. The pies are baked fresh every day, or at least that is what the sign says. They sit on white plates under the glass, slices already cut, ready to serve. Some men order pie with their meal. Some order it after. Some skip it entirely. The pie costs 35 cents a slice, 50 cents if you get it with ice cream. The waitress cuts the slice and puts it on a plate and sets it down in front of you. The crust is thick and flaky. The filling is sweet and sticky. You eat it with a fork, washing it down with coffee. The pie is not why you came here, but it is part of the ritual. It is the punctuation mark at the end of the meal. The pie case sits on the counter near the register where everyone has to walk past it on their way out. This is intentional. The case is positioned to catch your eye, to make you think about pie, even if you were not thinking about it before. The glass is smudged with fingerprints and condensation, but you can still see the pies inside. 4 or 5 different kinds, each one cut into 8 slices, some of the slices already gone. The pies are made in-house, baked early in the morning before the day shift starts. The cook or the owner's wife makes them in a small kitchen in the back. The same recipes every time. Apple with cinnamon and sugar. Cherry with whole cherries and thick red syrup. Pecan with a layer of nuts on top held together with corn syrup and brown sugar. Lemon meringue with a tall cap of toasted meringue that has started to weep slightly under the heat of the case lights. The crusts are thick, not delicate. They are made to hold up under heavy filling, to survive being cut and plated and carried to the counter. The crust is butter and flour and shortening, rolled out and pressed into tin pans. The edges are crimped by hand, the same pattern every time. The crusts are baked until they are golden brown and flaky, sturdy enough to support the weight of the filling. The apple pie is the most popular. It is simple and reliable. Thick slices of apple mixed with sugar and cinnamon, baked until the apples are soft and the juices have thickened. The filling is sweet but not cloying. The apples still have some texture. They are not mush. You can taste the fruit underneath the sugar. The slice comes to the table still slightly warm if you are lucky, or room temperature if it has been sitting in the case for a few hours. The cherry pie is bright red, almost artificially so. The cherries are canned, not fresh, packed in heavy syrup that stains everything it touches. The filling is thick and gummy, more sugar than fruit. But it tastes good in the way that diner cherry pie always tastes good, sweet and tart and sticky. You eat it slowly, letting the sugar hit your tongue, washing it down with black coffee to cut through the sweetness. The pecan pie is dense and rich. A single slice is almost too much. The filling is a solid layer of pecans held together with a mixture that is part corn syrup, part brown sugar, part butter. It is so sweet it makes your teeth ache. But drivers order it anyway, because it is calories, because it is energy, because the sugar will keep them awake for the next 100 miles. The lemon meringue is lighter, at least in theory. The lemon filling is tart and yellow, set firm enough to hold its shape when cut. The meringue on top is white and fluffy, browned at the peaks from the oven. But the meringue has started to separate from the filling, pulling away at the edges, weeping tiny drops of sugar water. It does not matter. The pie still tastes good. The tartness of the lemon balances the sweetness of the meringue. It is refreshing after a heavy meal of steak and eggs and hash browns. You order a slice of apple pie. The waitress opens the back of the case, slides out the pie tin, cuts a fresh slice with a flat server. She plates it and sets it in front of you. The slice is big, a full eighth of the pie, thick and heavy. You pick up your fork and cut into it. The crust breaks cleanly. The filling is warm. The apples are soft and sweet. You take a bite, and the flavors are exactly what you expected. Nothing surprising, nothing fancy, just pie. Some men order pie with ice cream. The waitress scoops vanilla ice cream from a tub behind the counter and drops it next to the pie. The ice cream starts melting immediately, pooling around the base of the slice, mixing with the pie filling. You eat quickly, trying to finish before the ice cream turns to liquid. The combination of hot pie and cold ice cream is satisfying in a simple way. Sweet and cold and warm all at once. The pie costs extra, but it is worth it. 35 cents for a slice is not much. It is a small luxury at the end of a long day. You did not need the pie. You were already full from the meal. But you wanted it. And at 2 a.m, on the road far from home, you do not deny yourself small pleasures. The pie is one of those pleasures. You eat it slowly, savoring each bite, making it last. When it is gone, you are ready to leave. Not everyone at the counter is a trucker. There are a few locals, men who work night shifts at factories or rail yards, who stop in for coffee and eggs before heading home. There is the occasional salesman driving between towns, trying to make his quota. There is sometimes a woman, traveling alone or with a husband sitting at a booth instead of the counter, because that is what women do. The diner does not turn anyone away. If you have money for food, you can sit down. But the rhythm of the place is set by the truckers. They are the majority. They are the reason the diner stays open all night. Everyone else is just passing through. The factory workers are easy to spot. They come in groups of 2 or 3, still wearing their work clothes, coveralls, or shop coats, their hands stained with grease or oil or whatever they work with. They are loud, in a way the truckers are not. They talk and laugh, making jokes, blowing off steam after a long shift. They sit at the counter and order breakfast, even though it is the middle of the night. For them, this is morning. They just got off work. They are hungry and tired, and they want food before they go home and sleep. The rail yard workers are similar but quieter. They come in alone or in pairs, men who have been switching cars or loading freight all night. They smell like diesel and coal dust. They sit at the counter hunched over their plates, eating quickly, not talking. They have maybe 30 minutes before they have to be back at the yard. They do not waste time. They order, they eat, they pay, they leave. The diner is just fuel for them, a necessary stop between work and sleep. The salesmen stick out. They wear suits, or at least dress pants and button-up shirts. Their shoes are clean. Their hair is combed. They carry briefcases or sample cases that they set on the floor next to their stool. They are driving between towns, covering territory, trying to sell insurance or farm equipment or office supplies. They stop at the diner because it is the only place open. They do not belong here, and they know it. They eat quickly and avoid eye contact. They do not want to be here, but they need food and coffee, so here they are. The women are rare. When a woman does come in, she almost never sits at the counter. She sits in a booth, alone or with a man. If she is alone, she is traveling, probably driving to visit family or moving to a new town. If she is with a man, they are married or at least traveling together. They sit across from each other in the booth, talking quietly, eating slowly. The waitress treats them the same as everyone else. Coffee, menu, order taken, food delivered. No special treatment, no extra attention. Just the same efficient service everyone gets. Sometimes a woman sits at the counter. It is unusual, but it happens. She is older usually, 50s or 60s, traveling alone, not caring what anyone thinks. She orders the same food the men order. Steak and eggs. Coffee, pie. She eats the same way, quickly and without fuss. The men at the counter do not acknowledge her. She does not acknowledge them. She is just another customer. The counter does not care about gender. It just cares that you sit down and order food. The locals are different from the transients. The locals know the waitress by name. They know the cook. They have been coming here for years. They sit in the same spot every time, order the same food. The waitress does not need to ask what they want. She just pours their coffee and puts in their order. The locals are part of the diner's foundation, the steady customers who come in every night whether there are truckers or not. But the truckers are the bread and butter. They are the ones who keep the diner open all night. Without the truckers, the diner could close at 10 or 11 and only open for breakfast and lunch. But the trucks run all night, and the drivers need to eat, so the diner stays open. The rhythm of the place, the speed of service, the menu, the prices, everything is designed for the truckers. Everyone else just fits into the system the truckers created. You can tell who belongs and who does not by how they sit, how they eat, how they interact with the waitress. The truckers are comfortable here. This is their space. They know the rules. They know the routine. The others are visitors. They are tolerated, but they are not part of the culture. They eat and they leave, and the diner goes back to being what it always was. A place for truckers. A place for men who drive all night and need somewhere to stop and eat and drink coffee before getting back on the road. The booths line the wall opposite the counter. Red vinyl benches, formica tables, the same coffee rings and cigarette burns. The booths are for couples or small groups, for people who want a little more space or a little more privacy. The truckers almost never sit in the booths. They sit at the counter where the waitress can reach them, where they can see the cook working, where they are part of the line. The booths are quieter, more removed. You sit there if you are not in a hurry, if you are not one of the regulars. The counter is the heart of the diner. The booths are the edge. There are maybe 6 or 8 booths total, running along the wall from the door to the back of the dining room. Each booth seats 4 people, 2 on each side, though most of the time only 2 people sit in them. The benches are padded vinyl, the same red or green as the counter stools, cracked and patched in places. The stuffing shows through where the vinyl has split. Some booths have been repaired with duct tape. The tape is silver gray and it does not match, but it holds the vinyl together. The tables are formica, the same speckled gray or tan as the counter. Each table has a napkin dispenser, a sugar dispenser, salt and pepper shakers, and an ashtray. The ashtray is always full or nearly full. The sugar dispenser is the kind with a metal pour spout, glass body yellowed from age. The napkins are thin paper, the cheap kind that tear easily. Everything on the table is functional. Nothing is decorative. The booths are where families sit when they come in. Though families are rare at 2 in the morning, when they do appear, mother and father on one side, children on the other, they look out of place. The diner is not built for families. It is built for working men eating alone, but the booths accommodate them. The waitress brings extra napkins for the children. The cook makes grilled cheese or pancakes if that is what the kids want. The diner adapts. Couples sit in the booths. A man and a woman traveling together, stopping for a meal. They sit across from each other and talk quietly. Or they do not talk at all. Sometimes couples on the road have run out of things to say to each other. They just eat in silence, looking out the window or down at their plates. The booth gives them privacy, or at least the illusion of it. They are not sitting elbow to elbow with strangers. They have their own space. Salesmen sit in the booths when they want to spread out their paperwork. They order coffee and eggs and then pull folders and order forms from their briefcase. They work while they eat, scribbling notes, adding up numbers. The booth gives them a flat surface bigger than the counter. They can spread out. They can treat the diner like an office for 20 minutes. The booths are darker than the counter. The fluorescent lights overhead do not reach as well. The booths sit in shadow, especially the ones in the back. This is part of their appeal. If you want to be seen, you sit at the counter. If you want to be left alone, you sit in a booth. The booth is where you go when you do not want to be part of the flow of the diner. You want to be adjacent to it, near it, but not in it. The vinyl benches squeak when you slide in. The tables wobble slightly because the floor is uneven or the table legs are not quite level. You settle in and the waitress appears with the coffee pot. She fills your cup and takes your order. The service is the same whether you sit at the counter or in a booth. The food is the same. The prices are the same. The only difference is the space. The booth gives you room. The counter gives you connection. You sit in a booth if you are with someone and you want to talk. The noise of the diner is lower back here. The clatter of the griddle is muffled. The conversations at the counter do not reach you. You can hear the person across from you without shouting. The booth creates a bubble, a small private space inside the public space of the diner. But most truckers do not sit in booths. They sit at the counter because that is where they belong. The counter is faster. The counter is more efficient. You sit, you order, you eat, you leave. No wasted movement, no wasted time. The booth is for people who have time to waste. Truckers do not have that luxury. They are always on a schedule, always running behind, always trying to make up time. The counter keeps them moving. The booth would slow them down. The booths also feel isolating in a way the counter does not. At the counter, you are surrounded by other men doing the same job. You are part of a community, even if no one speaks. In a booth, you are alone or with one other person. You are separate. For a trucker who has been alone in a cab for 8 hours, more isolation is not appealing. The counter offers a different kind of solitude. Alone, but not lonely. Part of something, even if that something is just a line of men eating eggs at 2 in the morning. When you are done eating, the waitress tears a slip from her pad and sets it face down next to your plate. You flip it over. The total is written in pencil. The numbers smudged, but legible. $2.15. You pull bills from your wallet, a couple of ones, and some change, and leave it on the counter. The waitress comes by, picks it up, makes change if you need it. You leave a quarter for a tip. She does not thank you. She just nods. The transaction is complete. You stand up from the stool and feel the stiffness in your legs from sitting. You stretch, grab your jacket, and head for the door. The meal is over. The road is waiting. The check is a small piece of paper torn from a pad, maybe 3 inches by 4 inches. The waitress has written your order in shorthand at the top. Steak, eggs, below that, the price is itemized. $1.75 for the steak and eggs, 20 cents for the hash browns, 10 cents for the coffee, 10 cents for the extra cup. The total at the bottom, circled, $2.15. The handwriting is messy but readable. She has written hundreds of these checks every shift for years. The numbers are automatic. She does not need to think about the prices. She knows them by heart. She adds them up in her head and writes the total. No calculator, no register tape, just mental arithmetic and a pencil. You flip the check over and look at the total. $2.15. You reach for your wallet, a leather billfold worn soft from years in your back pocket. You pull out $3 bills and lay them on the counter next to the check. The waitress will come by in a minute and pick them up. She will make change and bring it back. You will leave a quarter or 50 cents for her and take the rest. The money is wrinkled and soft, bills that have been folded and unfolded 100 times, ones and fives mostly. Maybe a 10 if you just got paid. You do not carry much cash. Just enough for food and fuel and cigarettes. Everything else stays in the truck or gets mailed home. Carrying cash on the road is asking for trouble. The waitress comes by and picks up the money. She counts it quickly, her fingers moving through the bills like she is shuffling cards. $3. She pulls coins from her apron pocket. 85 cents in change. She sets the coins on the counter next to your coffee cup. You pick up 2 quarters and a dime, 60 cents, and put them back in your pocket. You leave the quarter on the counter for her. It sits there, silver and bright, next to the coffee rings and cigarette ash. She picks up the quarter without comment. No thank you, no smile. Just a quick nod and she moves on. The tip is appreciated but not celebrated. It is expected. Part of the job. She has been tipped and stiffed and over-tipped and everything in between. A quarter is standard. It is fine. She pockets it and moves to the next customer. You stand up from the stool and your legs are stiff. You have been sitting for 30 minutes, maybe 40, and before that you were sitting in the truck for 8 hours. Your knees creak. Your back is tight. You stretch, reaching your arms over your head, feeling your spine crack. The movement feels good. You roll your shoulders trying to loosen them before getting back in the truck. You pull on your jacket, a denim or canvas work jacket, heavy enough to block the wind. The jacket smells like diesel and cigarette smoke and sweat. It is the same jacket you have worn for years. The cuffs are frayed. The zipper sticks halfway up. But it keeps you warm, and that is all that matters. You pick up your cigarettes from the counter and slide them into your shirt pocket. You check your pockets for your keys. Wallet, keys, cigarettes. Everything is where it should be. You are ready to leave. You walk toward the door and the waitress calls after you. Drive safe. You nod but do not turn around. Drive safe. It is what she says to everyone. A reflex more than a genuine wish. But it is something. A small acknowledgement that you are about to get back on the road, that the road is dangerous, that she hopes you make it to wherever you are going. You push open the door and step outside. The cold air hits you, or the heat, depending on the season. The temperature shock is immediate after the controlled climate of the diner. Your body adjusts. You walk across the gravel lot toward your truck. The engine is still running, the cab still warm. You can see your breath in the air. The diner is behind you now, glowing yellow in the dark. You do not look back. The meal is over. The break is over. The road is waiting. You climb into the cab and settle into the driver's seat. The seat is worn to the shape of your body. The steering wheel is familiar in your hands. You shift into gear and pull out of the lot. The gravel crunches under the tires. The headlights sweep across the highway. You merge back onto the road, and the diner disappears behind you. In 6 hours, you will stop again. Different diner, same meal, the same routine over and over until you reach your destination. This is the job. This is the life. You drive. By the register, next to the mints and the matches, sits a jar of toothpicks. You take one on your way out. Everyone does. The toothpick is part of the routine, the final step before getting back in the truck. You work it between your teeth as you walk to the door, picking out bits of steak and hash browns. The toothpick is free, like the coffee refills, like the basket of crackers some diners put on the counter. It is a small thing, but it matters. It is the diner taking care of you, making sure you have everything you need before you leave. The jar is clear glass, maybe a pint size, with a metal screw-top lid. The lid has been removed and set aside somewhere behind the counter. The jar sits next to the register, where you have to walk past it on your way out. This is deliberate. The diner wants you to take a toothpick. It is part of the service, part of the experience, part of what makes you remember the place. The toothpicks are wooden, round, pointed at both ends. They are packed tightly in the jar, standing upright like a forest. You reach in and pull one out. The wood is smooth and light. You put it in your mouth and start working it between your teeth, feeling for the bits of food lodged there. Steak fibers caught between molars. Hash browns stuck to your gums. The toothpick dislodges them, and you spit the debris into your hand or onto the gravel outside. The toothpick serves a practical purpose, but it is also a ritual. Taking a toothpick on your way out marks the end of the meal. You have eaten, you have paid, and now you are taking care of the aftermath. The toothpick is the transition between the diner and the truck, between sitting still and driving again. You work the toothpick as you walk across the parking lot. By the time you reach the truck, your teeth are clean. Some men chew on the toothpick for hours. It becomes a habit, something to do with your mouth besides smoke. The toothpick sits in the corner of your mouth, moving from one side to the other, getting chewed down to nothing. Some drivers go through 5 or 6 toothpicks in a shift. They take a handful from the jar and keep them in the truck. When one wears out, they grab another. The toothpick jar is never empty. The diner refills it every day, sometimes twice a day if business is heavy. The toothpicks are cheap. They cost almost nothing, but they matter to the customers. A diner without toothpicks feels incomplete. The jar by the register is expected, the same way the coffee pot and the pie case are expected. It is part of what defines a proper diner. Next to the toothpick jar are the mints, individually wrapped peppermints or buttermints in a bowl. You can take 1 or 2 on your way out. Some men do, some do not. The mints are sweeter than most drivers want. The toothpick is more useful. It cleans your teeth. It gives you something to do with your mouth. The mint just sits on your tongue and dissolves. The matchbooks are there too, piled next to the register. Free advertising for the diner. The matches are printed with the diner's name and location. Bill's Diner. Route 40. Ohio. You take a book of matches even if you do not need them. You already have matches in your truck, but you take them anyway. Free is free. The matchbook goes in your pocket and sits there for weeks until you finally use it to light a cigarette or throw it away. The area around the register is the last thing you see before you leave. The toothpick jar, the mints, the matchbooks, the cash register itself with the drawer half open, full of bills and coins. The waitress stands behind the register, making change for another customer. She does not look up. You are already gone in her mind. She is focused on the next transaction, the next customer, the next meal. You grab a toothpick and walk toward the door. The toothpick is in your mouth, working between your teeth. Your hands are in your pockets. Your jacket is zipped against the cold. You push the door open with your shoulder and step outside. The toothpick moves from one side of your mouth to the other. You are already thinking about the next 6 hours of driving. The road ahead, the miles to cover, the deadline to meet. The toothpick is the last thing the diner gives you. Not the food, not the coffee, but the toothpick. A small gesture, a tiny piece of wood that costs a fraction of a penny. But it is part of the care the diner provides. It says, "We fed you, we gave you coffee, we gave you a place to sit, and now we are making sure your teeth are clean before you go." It is completeness. It is attention to detail. It is the diner doing its job all the way to the end. You walk to the truck, toothpick in your mouth, and climb into the cab. You will chew on that toothpick for the next hour, maybe longer, until it falls apart or you spit it out the window. And when you stop at the next diner 6 hours from now, you will take another toothpick on your way out. The cycle continues. The toothpicks are endless. The diners are everywhere. The road never stops. Before you leave, you use the bathroom. It is down a narrow hallway past the kitchen, a single stall with a locking door. The floor is tile, usually cracked. The walls painted institutional green or beige. The sink drips. The soap dispenser is empty or nearly empty. The paper towel holder is the kind you crank by hand. The bathroom is not clean, but it is functional. It smells like disinfectant and cigarettes. You wash your hands, splash water on your face, look at yourself in the mirror for a moment. You look tired. You are tired. But the coffee and the food have done their job. You feel ready to drive again. The hallway is narrow, barely wide enough for one person. The walls are the same color as the dining room, a faded beige or pale green. The floor is scuffed linoleum. You walk past the kitchen door and catch a glimpse of the cook at the griddle, his back to you, spatula in hand. The smell of grease is stronger here, concentrated, almost overwhelming. Then you reach the bathroom door. The door is wood, painted the same color as the walls, with a simple latch lock. No deadbolt, no privacy lock, just a hook and eye that slides into place. The door does not fit the frame quite right. There is a gap at the bottom where you can see light from the hallway. You slide the hook into the eye and it holds, barely. If someone pushed hard enough, they could open it. But no one will. This is a truck stop bathroom, not a public restroom in a city. People respect the locked door. The bathroom is small, maybe 4 feet by 6 feet. A toilet, a sink, a mirror. That is it. No urinal, no extra space. Just the necessities. The toilet is white porcelain, old, the kind with the tank mounted on the wall and a pull chain to flush. The seat is cracked. The bowl has a rust stain where water has been dripping for years. You use the toilet and pull the chain. The tank flushes with a loud gurgle. The water swirls and drains. The tank refills slowly, the sound echoing in the small space. The sink is small, wall-mounted, with separate hot and cold taps. The taps are old, and they drip constantly. You turn on the cold water, and it comes out in a weak stream. The faucet is crusted with mineral deposits. The water is cold and clear. You cup your hands under it and splash your face. The shock of cold water wakes you up a little. You rub your eyes, trying to clear the exhaustion. The mirror above the sink is small and spotted with age. The silver backing has worn away in places, leaving dark patches. You look at yourself in the mirror. Your face is lined and tired. Your eyes are bloodshot. You need a shave. Your hair is flattened from wearing a cap all day. You look like exactly what you are. A man who has been driving all night. A man who is still hours away from rest. The soap dispenser is mounted on the wall next to the sink. You push the lever and a small amount of pink liquid soap comes out. Or nothing comes out because the dispenser is empty. You rub your hands together under the water, trying to clean them without soap. Your hands are stained with grease and diesel. The water alone does not do much. But you try anyway. The paper towel dispenser is the kind you have to crank by hand. You turn the handle and a length of rough brown paper feeds out. You tear it off and dry your hands. The paper is thin and scratchy. It does not absorb water well. You have to use 3 or 4 sheets to get your hands dry. The used paper goes in a trash can in the corner. The trash can is overflowing. No one has emptied it in days. The floor is tile, cracked and stained. Some of the tiles are missing. The grout is black with dirt. You try not to look at it too closely. The floor is mopped occasionally, but not often enough. It is clean enough to walk on. That is the standard. Functional, not pleasant. The walls are painted institutional green, the color of hospitals and schools. The paint is chipped in places, showing older layers underneath. Someone has scratched graffiti into the paint near the toilet. Names, dates, crude drawings. The graffiti is old, layered, generations of it. You do not read it. You just notice it is there. The bathroom smells like disinfectant, the cheap kind that smells like pine. The disinfectant does not quite cover the other smells. Cigarette smoke. Because people smoke in here, even though they are not supposed to. Urine, because the toilet seal is not great and the floor around it is damp. Mildew, because the ventilation is poor and moisture collects in the corners. You finish washing your hands and drying your face. You look at yourself one more time in the mirror. You do not look better, but you feel slightly more awake. The cold water helped. The break from sitting helped. You are ready to drive again. You unlock the door and step back into the hallway. The bathroom is behind you. You will not think about it again until the next stop. You step outside and the cold air hits you. Or the heat, depending on the season. The gravel crunches under your boots as you walk back to the truck. The engine is still running, the cab still warm. You climb up into the driver's seat and sit for a moment, letting your body settle. The diner is behind you now, glowing in the dark, the same as it was when you arrived. Other trucks have pulled in. Other drivers are sitting at the counter, ordering the same meals you just ate. The cycle continues. The diner never stops. You shift into gear and pull back onto the highway. The road stretches out ahead, empty and dark. The next diner is 6 hours away. The air outside is different from the air inside. Sharper, cleaner. The smell of the diner does not follow you out. It stays inside, trapped behind the glass doors. Out here, it is just night air. Cold if it is winter. hot and humid if it is summer. You breathe it in and your lungs clear. The smoke and grease smell fades. The parking lot is the same as when you arrived. Gravel and ruts and trucks sitting at odd angles. Some of the trucks that were here when you arrived are gone now. New trucks have taken their place. The lot is never empty. There is always at least one truck, always at least one driver inside eating or drinking coffee, or just sitting at the counter because he does not want to be alone in his cab anymore. You walk to your truck and the gravel is loud under your boots. Each step crunches and shifts. The lot is not lit well. Just the spill from the diner windows and the occasional light pole. You watch your step. You do not want to twist an ankle on the uneven ground. Your truck sits where you left it. Engine running. Exhaust coming from the stack in a steady stream. The running lights are on. The cab glows faintly from the instrument panel inside. The truck is warm and waiting. It is the most familiar thing in your life right now. More familiar than home. You spend more time in this truck than you spend anywhere else. It is your office, your bedroom, your kitchen. It is where you live. You climb up into the cab, grabbing the handle and pulling yourself up. The step is high. You swing yourself into the seat and close the door behind you. The door shuts with a solid thunk. The cab is warm. The heater has been running the whole time you were inside. The seat is worn and shaped to your body. You settle in and it feels right. This is where you belong. Not the diner, not anywhere else. Here, in the driver's seat, on the road. You adjust the mirrors. You check the gauges. Fuel level, oil pressure, engine temperature. Everything is where it should be. The engine is running smooth. No warning lights, no problems. You are ready to drive. You sit for a moment before putting the truck in gear. You are full. You are awake. The coffee is working. The food is sitting heavy in your stomach. You feel good, or at least good enough. Better than you felt an hour ago when you pulled in tired and hungry. The diner did its job. It fed you. It gave you coffee. It gave you a place to rest for 30 minutes. Now you are ready to go again. Through the windshield, you can see the diner. The windows are bright. Inside, men sit at the counter. The waitress moves down the line with the coffee pot. The cook works the griddle. It is the same scene you just left. It will be the same scene 6 hours from now when you stop at a different diner. The only thing that changes is the location. Everything else stays the same. You shift into gear and release the brake. The truck rolls forward. You turn the wheel and navigate through the parking lot, avoiding the other trucks heading for the exit. The gravel crunches under the tires. The headlights sweep across the lot, catching the reflectors on other trucks. The neon sign above the diner door. You pull out onto the highway. The road is empty. No other cars. No other trucks. Just you and the road and the darkness. The headlights cut through the night, showing you the pavement ahead. The white line on the shoulder. The yellow line in the middle. The road is straight. It stretches out for miles. You settle into the rhythm of driving. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, mind empty. The diner fades in the rearview mirror. The lights get smaller. Then they are gone. The diner is behind you. The meal is behind you. The break is over. You are driving again. This is what you do. This is what you will keep doing until you reach your destination. Drive, stop, eat, drive. The pattern repeats. The road never ends. There is always another mile, another hour, another diner waiting somewhere up ahead. The next stop is 6 hours away. Maybe more. You will know when you need to stop. Your body will tell you. Your eyes will start to close. Your mind will start to wander. The coffee will wear off. And when that happens, you will look for the next diner. Another gravel lot. Another neon sign. Another counter with stools and coffee and steak and eggs. The same meal, the same routine, over and over, until you are done, until you reach the end, until the road finally lets you rest. Some diners were part of chains. Others were owned by one person or one family, run the same way for 30 years. The ones that stayed open were the ones that understood what the drivers needed. Hot food, fast service, cheap prices, and a place to sit down. They did not try to be fancy. They did not change the menu every season or redecorate every few years. They just kept doing what they had always done. The consistency was the whole point. A driver could stop at the same diner in Ohio every week for 10 years and get the same steak and eggs from the same waitress cooked by the same cook. That reliability mattered more than anything else. The successful diners understood their role. They were not restaurants in the traditional sense. They were infrastructure. They were as essential to the trucking industry as fuel stations and tire shops. Without diners, the freight does not move. Without diners, the drivers cannot work. The diners that survived understood this. They positioned themselves as partners in the work, not just businesses trying to extract money from passing traffic. Location mattered more than anything. The best diners sat on major trucking routes: Route 40, Route 66, Route 30, the highways that carried the most freight. The diners placed themselves at natural stopping points. 4 hours from the last major city, 6 hours from the next one, right where a driver would start feeling tired, start needing food, start looking for a place to pull over. The diner would be there exactly when it was needed. The buildings themselves were unremarkable: rectangular, single-story flat roof, built cheap because the owners did not have much money, built simple because simple is easier to maintain. No architectural flourishes, no decorative elements. Just 4 walls, a roof, windows across the front, and a door. The building said exactly what it was: a place to eat, nothing more. Inside, the layout was always the same: counter along one wall, booths along the other, kitchen behind the counter, bathrooms in the back. The floor plan was standardized not because diners copied each other, but because this layout was the most efficient. It allowed one waitress to cover the whole room. It put the customer close to the cook. It minimized wasted space. Form followed function perfectly. The equipment was industrial. Commercial griddles that could run 24 hours without breaking down. Coffee percolators that held 2 gallons and kept it hot all night. Walk-in coolers in the back stocked with eggs and meat and potatoes. The equipment was expensive, but it lasted. A good griddle could run for 20 years if you maintained it. A good percolator even longer. The initial investment was high, but the operating costs were low. The staff stayed for years. The waitress who worked the night shift in 1950 might still be working the night shift in 1960. The cook who worked the griddle when the diner opened might still be working it 20 years later. The turnover was low because the jobs were steady. Not glamorous, not high-paying, but steady. The diner was always open. There was always work. For people who needed that kind of stability, the diner provided it. The owners lived above the diner or nearby. They were always around. If the cook did not show up, the owner worked the griddle. If the waitress called in sick, the owner's wife covered the shift. The diner was not just a business. It was a family operation. The success of the diner was the success of the family. If the diner failed, the family had nothing. The consistency extended to everything. The menu never changed. The prices changed only when absolutely necessary. The hours never changed. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You could stop at the same diner on Christmas Day and get the same meal you got on a Tuesday in July. The diner did not close for holidays. The trucks did not stop running for holidays. Neither did the diner. The reputation was everything. Drivers talked to each other. They shared information about which diners were good and which ones were not. A diner with bad food or slow service or high prices would lose business quickly. Word spread. Drivers would skip it and go to the next one. But a diner with good food and fast service and fair prices would build a loyal following. Drivers would plan their routes around it. They would time their stops to hit that diner at mealtime. The diner became a landmark, a known quantity in an uncertain world. The diners that stayed open for decades did so because they understood all of this. They were not trying to innovate. They were not trying to stand out. They were trying to be reliable, to be there when you needed them, to serve the same food the same way every single time. That reliability was worth more than anything else. It was what kept drivers coming back. It was what kept the diner alive. By the 1970s, the diners started closing. The interstate highway system had changed the routes. The new highways bypassed the old roads, and the diners that sat on those roads lost their traffic. Truck stops started appearing, bigger and more modern, with fuel pumps and showers and convenience stores attached. The truck stops offered everything in one place. The small roadside diners could not compete. One by one, they shut down. The buildings sat empty for a while, then got torn down or converted into something else. The neon signs were taken down. The griddles went cold. The stools were sold off. The diners that had fed drivers for decades vanished as if they had never existed. The interstate system was the beginning of the end. When Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act in 1956, he set in motion a transformation of American transportation. The new highways were faster, straighter, more efficient. They bypassed towns entirely. The old routes that had carried traffic through every small town in America were suddenly obsolete. Route 40, Route 66, all the numbered highways that had been the arteries of commerce, became secondary roads. The traffic moved to the interstates, and the diners that depended on that traffic died. The diners sat on the old roads. They had been built there deliberately, positioned to catch the traffic flowing through. But when the interstates opened, the traffic disappeared. A diner that had served 200 customers a day suddenly served 50, then 20, then 10. The math stopped working. You cannot keep a diner open 24 hours a day for 10 customers. The owners tried. They cut staff. They reduced hours. They raised prices slightly, trying to make up the lost volume. But it was not enough. The traffic was gone, and it was not coming back. The truck stops were different. They were built on the interstates, right at the exit ramps. They were designed for the new era of trucking. Bigger trucks, longer hauls, more services needed. The truck stops had fuel islands where you could fill up without leaving the property. They had showers where you could clean up after days on the road. They had convenience stores where you could buy supplies. They had restaurants that stayed open 24 hours. Everything a driver needed in one location. The truck stop restaurants were not the same as the diners. They were bigger, more corporate, less personal. The food came from a central commissary. The menu was standardized across every location. The waitresses did not know your name. The cook was not the same person every time. But the truck stops had advantages the diners did not. Parking for 50 trucks instead of 10. Security, facilities. The drivers adapted. They started using the truck stops instead of the diners. It was more efficient. Everything they needed in one stop. The diners could not compete with that. They tried. Some added fuel pumps. Some expanded their parking lots. But they were retrofitting old buildings on old roads. They were trying to adapt to a world that had moved past them. The investment required was more than most owners could afford. The return was uncertain. Many gave up. The building sat empty for a while after closing. Boarded windows, faded signs, parking lots returning to weeds. The equipment inside was sold off or left to rust. The griddles, the stools, the counter, the booths. Everything that had value was taken. Everything else was abandoned. The buildings became eyesores. Small towns wanted them gone. They got torn down. The lots were paved over or left empty. Within a few years, there was no evidence the diner had ever been there. Some got converted. A diner became a used car lot, or a storage facility, or a local restaurant that kept different hours and served different food. The bones of the building remained, but the purpose changed. The counter was ripped out, the griddle removed. The transformation was complete. What had been a truck stop diner became something else entirely. The neon signs came down. The signs had been the most visible part of the diner, the beacon that drew drivers in from the highway. When the diner closed, the sign was one of the first things to go. Sometimes it was sold to a collector. Sometimes it was just thrown away. The lights that had burned for 30 years went dark. The sign that had guided thousands of drivers to food and coffee and rest was gone. The closures accelerated through the 1970s and into the 1980s. Every year, more diners shut down. Every year, the landscape changed a little more. The old roads became quieter. The small towns that had depended on traffic from those roads struggled. The diners had been more than just restaurants. They had been employers. They had been gathering places. They had been part of the economic engine of small-town America. When they closed, they left holes that nothing filled. By the 1990s, most of them were gone. The ones that remained were anomalies, diners that had managed to find a different customer base, diners that had become local institutions serving the town instead of the highway. But the classic truck stop diner, the 24-hour operation serving drivers on long hauls, had mostly disappeared. The era was over. The interstates had won. The truck stops had won. The small roadside diner had lost. And with it went a whole way of life, a whole rhythm of the road, a whole culture that had existed for maybe 40 years and then vanished almost completely. The last plate has been cleared, the last cup of coffee poured. The griddle has gone cold. Somewhere in America, there is a parking lot where a diner used to be. The gravel is still there, grown over with weeds. The foundation is still visible if you know where to look. The neon sign is long gone. The counter, the stools, the griddle, the coffee pot, all of it hauled away or left to rust in the back of the building before it was torn down. But if you were there, if you sat at that counter at 2 a.m. with a plate of steak and eggs in front of you and a cup of coffee in your hand, you remember. You remember exactly what it was like. The smell, the sound, the feeling of stopping after hours on the road, the relief of sitting down, the warmth of the diner, the waitress who kept your coffee full, the cook who never looked up from the griddle, the other drivers sitting next to you, all of you part of the same world. The diners are gone now, most of them. The buildings are torn down. The people who worked there are retired or dead. The drivers who stopped there have moved on. The trucks are different. The roads are different. Everything has changed. But the memory remains, sharp and clear. You can still taste that coffee. You can still feel that stool under you. You can still hear the griddle hissing. The diner's gone, but it is not forgotten. It lives in the memory of everyone who was there, everyone who needed it, everyone who depended on it to keep going. The brutal trucker breakfast served at 2 a.m. in roadside diners that vanished. It was never about the food. It was about survival. It was about connection. It was about having a place to stop in the middle of the night when everything else was closed and the road stretched out forever in both directions. The diner was there, Always there, reliable and warm and open, waiting for you. And now it is not. That is what we lost. Not just cheap food and strong coffee, but a place that understood what you needed without you having to say it. A place that took care of you. A place where you belonged, even if only for an hour. If this brought back memories, if you sat at one of those counters, leave a comment and tell me about it. What diner? What road? What you ordered? I want to hear your stories. And if you found something in this that resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. There are more stories like this coming. More pieces of America that used to exist and do not anymore. More memories worth preserving. The road is still out there. The trucks are still running. But the diners are gone. And with them went something we have not figured out how to replace. Something about care and community and taking the time to pour someone a cup of coffee and ask if they need anything else. The diner understood that. We have forgotten it. Maybe someday we will remember. Until then, the memory is enough. The memory of sitting at a counter at 2 a.m, tired and hungry and far from home. The waitress pouring coffee, the cook working the griddle, the other drivers sitting next to you. All of you together in that small, warm space. All of you part of the same world. That world is gone now. But for a while, it was real. And it mattered. Thanks for listening. Drive safe.